Hi, and welcome to CMPP's Speakers for Schools programme. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be chatting to Dominique Stillman. Now, Dominique is a leadership and neuroscience coach for her own company, DS Consulting. So, hi, Dominique.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Really pleased to be able to help with this.
Thank you. So, Dominique, can you start by telling us what a leadership and neuroscience coach is? What do you do?
Yeah, so I work in business mainly. Work in business, and I work with anyone that manages people and leads a group of people. I help them to learn and develop the skills for leadership. And then I also apply neuroscience to that. The neuroscience piece helps people understand how brains process, how they work, what happens when it's under stress, how you can help relieve some of that stress. Because the impact that a leader has on people can create those different aspects in their brains. And also, you know, it can help motivate people as well, help them understand how the brain creates habits, how it reacts to surprise, how it sees change. All those things are going to be happening when you're a leadership coach. So alongside some sort of more standard leadership tools, I bring in the neuroscience.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. And so is that you work with businesses mainly, you say, or do you work with schools as well? Or
I work with people that work with people, ultimately.
Yeah.
So I don't have a set industry or anything like that. But as soon as you've got other people that you're trying to lead, then I'd work with those. And I do sometimes do independent work too, because we all lead ourselves. We have to lead ourselves in our lives and whatever we do. So it can all be applied in that sense too.
Yeah. And so how did you get to where you are today? If we start back from when you left school.
Yeah, do you know what? I couldn't wait. Couldn't wait to get away. I did do, well, then A-levels. So I left at 18 and I had A-levels. And I left school. I knew I didn't want to be at school anymore, or not for a while anyway. For me, school, I went to lots of different ones. And so it meant that I never really felt I had a really strong connection with the people at the school. And I lived far away from the school. So it wasn't socially the best place for me at the time. I found it awkward and quite difficult at school, making friends, etc. And therefore speaking up in school I found difficult. So for me to get out was like, yes, please, let me get out, let me earn some money. And I had no idea what I was going to do. But my brother-in-law worked at a petrol station, and he said, look, I could give you a job, have a job. So at least I'm earning some money, because there's no way I'd be left by my parents to not be doing something. I had to be doing something. So I went there, and when I was there, I met a guy, and he was very motivated around having his own business. And we got together and we formed a relationship. And that's where the real sort of world of work began with me. So we ended up getting our own franchised petrol station. So we got a franchise. We had two in the end. We had one in Clapham, and then we had another one in Queensbury in North London. And but we also had other businesses too. This is what's really interesting, is how adaptable you can be to different things. So that's petrol stations. And then I had a car stereo shop at one point, which at the time, when cars weren't always automatically coming with, you know, car stereos, sunroofs and things, you went to a shop to get them. And I knew nothing about them, but had to learn fast. Then I had tie racks. They're like retail ties for men and scarves for women. They're not really around anymore. I had two of those, and I even had two pubs at one point. So
wow.
in a period of 10 years, so from 19 to 29, went through a vast array, all retail, but different types of businesses. And there's a fundamental piece, which is you've got a customer, so look after them well. You've got your sort of stock control, and you've got your sort of management of the operation as such, of how a shop works, which is pretty standard. But then you've got these different types of retail that all the time it was like, whoa. And to be perfectly honest, there wasn't a lot of thought put into any of it. So it was all, each enterprise was a bit of a surprise and a big learning curve.
Yeah.
As a result. Yeah.
So you left with sort of, I guess, little experience in running a business, but actually then went on to running numerous businesses. What life experience did you need to do that, or what experience did you need to do that, if that makes sense?
Do you know, there's a certain amount of a sort of, if you've got that concept that I've got a customer and I want to serve my customer well. So this is where you've got some people skills, this interest in people, able to have a nice conversation with them, make them feel welcome. Ultimately, it's like welcoming someone into your home. You welcome them in, you make them feel comfortable. You ask them what they'd like to drink in your home, or what they'd like to eat, and you do your best to meet their needs. So that ability to make people feel comfortable and give them a nice experience, I think, is one of the most valuable, because you can take it everywhere. You take that everywhere. That way of understanding someone else's needs, asking about them, and doing your best to fulfill it within your means. So that was really important. Then you learn very fast to be very practical. You have to be practical too. You know, there's a profit and loss. So as much as you want to make people comfortable, unlike CMPP, you're not a charity. You need to balance the books and make the money, and CMPP needs to do that too, of course. You have to have an income, you've got costs, and so you've really got to understand what they are. So you've got this very practical side too. So you can learn that quite early on if you're sort of in an environment where, if you go and wash my car, I'll give you a £5. Well, that £5 only goes so far. Yeah, it only goes so far. So if you need a bit more, you need to do something else. So all of that came through as great skills, being practical, making sure you were doing things that made money ultimately. But we made loads of mistakes. And some things are in your control and some things aren't. And you have to really be able to learn fast. So if I keep putting things on sale, then that's not going to always help the business. If I keep trying to sell that product and no one actually wants to buy it, that's not going to. So you get some really practical skills from that element. You're learning all the time. Every customer's different. Every day is different. Even if it looks the same to other people, actually, you're always having to make it appealing. Well, I want people to come in here. How am I going to give them, as I say, that great experience that says, I'll come back?
And it's amazing to hear that you left school and didn't go on to further education, but you went on because you were determined to set up, numerous businesses that way. Yeah,
absolutely. I tried them all, and at the end of the day, I have never stopped learning. And I think that's something for people to understand, that you don't have to learn in the order that learning that comes. It's school, it's university, and it's work. For me, it was school, it was work, and I'm learning all the time, practical skills. And then as I've changed my career, because I've done lots of other things too from that point, as I've changed my career, I've had to learn something else. And then I've got extra qualifications, and I've just shifted the learning pattern. But to me, learning's lifelong. So that's never going to stop.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And so going back to them from when you sort of had all your businesses, but what happened from then? Where did you go from then?
Yeah, so we had the 19 to 29, you are naive, and we didn't make some of the best decisions. And there was a recession in the late 80s. And unfortunately, we didn't manage to get through that recession. And so I had to go and get a real job. I had to go and work for someone else. And that was a real shock, firstly in my own belief that anyone would be interested, because I hadn't put enough value in what I'd done. I hadn't understood the learning. So that reflection of stepping back and saying, what have I actually done here, is something that's really important, something that I bring into work today, my work today. So, but I did get a job with British Airways. So I worked at British Airways in their check-in area. I didn't fly. Yeah, I worked in check-in. I started off at just a check-in, and then I became a bit of a team leader there. So that was a sort of a step up. I had to learn all technical things there, like how to work these systems. And then I went higher and I became a shift manager. And then I moved into a rostering area. And in the rostering area, that was where you rostered for about 15,000 people every day. The system did it. And I think my experiences of the shops and just getting a different one and a new one meant that in my head, although I hadn't done it, I knew I'd find a way I could do it. So the more you expose yourselves to things you don't know, the more you can believe you'll be all right when you get your next one that you don't know, because there's something you've done that you can draw on. And of course, that interaction with people and being able to sort of quickly fit in or understand them makes a huge difference too. Yeah. So from British Airways, I then decided that I wanted to go into this space of development, people development. And it was at the time when Concorde went down and the Twin Towers in the United States went down, which meant I'd married by then, my husband, I'd met him at British Airways as well. I was nervous of us both being in the same organisation where suddenly it was a bit flat and maybe opportunity wasn't so great. And so I decided to leave and I went and worked at a company I went right down the ladder. I took a massive pay cut, went right down to the bottom to learn again about putting together training and training people, because I really wanted to explore that more and help people make a real difference with how they manage others. So I worked with lastminute.com. That took me all over Europe, and it was last minute that I did psychometric training, so to help with understanding personality. I did coaching qualifications. I did course design. I was coaching in the organisation. And then I went and delivered courses, all, as I say, all around Europe, sometimes in United States when I was lucky. So I did that.
Wow, that sounds so interesting. And to be able to travel as well.
Oh, I know. I really, really enjoy the travel part, actually.
Yeah.
And it's fun because you're, as I said, you're always learning yourself. You're always discovering your own strengths or something that scares you, and you realise how much you can draw on what you know and what you do. And I got through that. So the next time it happens, that's okay. I know what to do. It's really good to put yourself out there and have those learning experiences. It really helps build your confidence that you'll always need people to help you, but actually you need to have a strong personal resource as well.
Yeah, I think I heard something great once where it says step out of your comfort zone and something amazing will happen. I think that's true, isn't it? And I tell myself that sometimes. I think if I step out of my comfort zone, then. And so you did all your learning through lastminute.com and training and all that sort of stuff. And then what happened on from there?
Oh, I went to a company that I decided to change industries then. So that was travel. So I went to finance. It was a tough, it was a contract. It was a tough contract because they were actually doing a redundancy program and they wanted me to come in to help the people that were being made redundant, but to also help the people who weren't being made redundant. So the key here is that you've got to help people realise that there is still opportunity and there is still, you've got to help them build that value in themselves. So where I've talked about some of the things that I've been doing, I would get them to share some of the thing they've been doing and start pulling out what is it there that's really useful, transferable, what are people looking for, to help people realise what they are now taking forward into the future. And then after that, I went and I worked in a global leadership role for 5 years at an organisation. And after a while, I realised that I really wanted to be independent again, because when you're in these big roles, you get, for me, I was getting further and further away from the bit that I loved, which was actually the coaching and the running the workshops, because I had teams of people to do that for me. So I became much more strategic, which was great as well. But at the same time, I thought, no, I really want to be back there with the people and making a difference for them.
And so that's when DS Consulting came into place then.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 7 years now, so I'm really, really pleased, because being out on your own, it's tough. You know, all the people you may know, they all want to help you. It doesn't mean they all can. They all want to give you up, but that doesn't mean they will, or it's possible for them. So it's a long haul, and you have to sort of be creative. And one of the reasons I joined CMPP was it puts me with people, because often I'll be on my own working, and I like being with people, so it gives me a chance to connect with people. But I didn't stop learning, so that it was with DS Consulting that I did my neuroscience qualification. A part of that was to be the best coach. I really wanted to think, what else can I give? And I felt the neuroscience helped give that extra edge and extra insight to my clients.
How did you get that qualification then? Is that something that you went to sort of Open University for, or college for? Or?
It was online, and I explored lots of different ways of doing it and asked lots of different people. I went online, I did lots of research, and then I found the Neuroscience Academy, which is based in Australia. And the amazing Dr. Sarah McKay, she actually is trained as a neuroscientist in Oxford, but she now runs her own practice for, it's about understanding brain health, and it's really applicable and practical as well. And she makes it, I'm not academic, but I didn't go to, I'm not academic. I want something that I can use, understand and apply. And she's just brilliant at putting things out there in that format. And it was really exciting, tough sometimes, but really exciting to learn it. And it's been so useful to me, so useful for my own well-being in terms of understanding what's going on in my head, but also for my clients too.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting to hear your story and how you've come to where you are today. And like you said at the beginning, it doesn't matter which order you do it in. You left, you got some life skills, you learnt your businesses, and then you went back and actually learnt something that you're really, really interested in. So thank you for sharing that. And have you got any other final bits of advice of anybody who's making their choices at school at the minute?
Yeah, if you really don't know and it's really difficult, I really would go for the things that you're best at. Do what you're best at, because at the end of the day, when people are looking at who they'd employ, who they'd take on, they're going to be more enthused by people that are enthusiastic about what they're focusing on. And when you get results, it doesn't matter what subject you've taken. It's the fact that you've put the effort in and that you've succeeded, or you've done your very best. So that would be for me my thing about trying to make those choices. Do what you're best at and do what you enjoy. And if you then change your mind later, then change your mind. That's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. Thank you so much, Dominique, and thank you for your time today.
Pleasure.